I talked last time about the rainmaker who went into the tent and balanced himself, brought everything into harmony, and came out and it rained. Right? So I want to talk a little bit more about this because this can lead us into an understanding of the cosmos, which is somewhat different from the Western understanding. And in the West, we tend to think of everything sort of almost like a machine. The particles exist, atoms exist, they follow certain laws. And it's, it can all be described mathematically. Things have changed quite a bit since quantum mechanics and relativity. So, but still, underlying everything, we tend to live as though we're living mostly in a machine. But Native Americans didn't do that. They really had a sense that they were participating in the universe, in the cosmos. So they had a sense that the cosmos speaks to them and that they are a part of everything. And so they saw themselves as within nature. So I want to read just a little bit more from David Peate's paper about participation in nature. So let me just find that. Okay, so participation within the flux is done by means of acts of renewal. Renewal requires an act of sacrifice, and it is these sacrifices, these actions of participation, performed each morning when the sun rises, each year at the sun dance, which help to maintain the great circle of renewal. Thanks to these acts of renewal, time within the flux turns on its axis. Seasons follow seasons. Circling time is always the same, yet always different, always renewed. Acts of renewal reflect the compacts formed in ancient times, negotiated relationships between the ancestors and the energies or spirits or keepers of the land. No one believes that a pipe ceremony actually causes the sun to rise. Rather, by renewing their relationships to the dynamics of nature, the Blackfoot maintain a harmonious role within the cosmos. Within a balanced cosmos, the sun will rise and the seasons follow in their proper harmony. Personal sacrifice, responsibility, ceremonies and acts of renewal therefore have nothing to do with the world of mechanical causality, but are more to do with the relationship to the living cosmos. So this is from F. David Peate's paper, Blackfoot Physics and European Minds. So it's sort of the way that we all used to live. A few hundred years ago, pretty much all indigenous peoples would have had a much more participatory relationship with nature. So how do we come across that today in our thinking? And I think I would probably have to look at synchronicities. Carl Jung's ideas of a synchronicity, which is when something meaningful happens, which without the meaning you might put down to coincidence between something happening out there in the material world and something happening inside you. So maybe you're thinking about your kids, you're worrying a little bit or something. You go out the door on your way to work and you see a baby bird on the ground that is obviously hurt. And that says to you, I have to go watch my kids. Okay, so, that doesn't necessarily, we wouldn't necessarily think of that as something that is speaking to us, but if you have that sort of a relationship with the cosmos, then that sort of thing can and does happen a lot. And many people feel that they are guided in some ways by what happens. It's usually like such a striking coincidence that you really notice it because of the meaning behind it, right? Because it says something to you personally that you might not have, another person wouldn't have seen that same meaning. And there are many of these, like, so-called synchronicities that have actually even changed the course of history because people felt that they were being spoken to when they happened. So this is one way in which we can see a different relationship that we have with the universe or with the cosmos. And it really emphasizes the deeper meaning of the cosmos, the deeper part of the cosmos, which corresponds to our inner being. So I'll call it our consciousness, but I'm really speaking about our inner being. So it's almost as though the cosmos too has an inner being or a consciousness. So consciousness in the Western way of thinking comes out of the material, the ordering of the material world, right? The brain is incredibly ordered, and somehow, nobody really knows how, consciousness is supposed to be sort of an emanation from the ordered brain. But a completely different way of looking at that is that consciousness is the ground of our being or underlies everything, and that the cosmos actually exists within consciousness, or consciousness gave rise to the whole cosmos. So we're going to look at that more and more to try to understand that side of things, to try to see how that could be a reasonable approach. So I already talked just a little bit about Alfred North Whitehead. His physics really started almost with consciousness, right? So to him, a particle is not so much a piece of matter as like a droplet of experience, or almost consciousness. It's a little hard to use the word consciousness because it means such different things to so many people, but I'll use it for now. But if you think about it, actually, a huge part of the world believes that consciousness is the origin of the universe. It's pretty much a Buddhist way of thinking. And probably it's really only Western science that changed things around completely to say that matter was the origin of the universe, or I guess the laws of physics giving rise to matter. So we'll talk a lot more about that because that's really important. But the most important thing is this meaning behind everything. So start looking around you for synchronicities. Start to see if the universe is speaking to you.